What's up, everybody? Jamie Seabrook here. I'm in beautiful Grand Serenas Resort in Mexico. And 5 days ago, I made a video and I said, if you have any questions about the American Kenpo curriculum, anything martial arts related, whether it be sparring, freestyle, self-defense techniques, forms, sets, weaponry, Jiu-Jitsu, anything you want to know about cross-training, any of that stuff, to go ahead and ask me questions on my YouTube channel, and that I would make a video responding to those questions. There were so many questions that it would be too difficult to make it all in one video to respond to every single question. So I decided that what I'll do is I'll just type my response, and I just would pick one of the videos to make a video of. I might make a second video, but I will respond to every single person who asked a question, because they were great questions. Anyway, I got one really good, interesting one here from Kenpo Joel, a great guy, great martial artist. And he asked me a twofold question. The first part is, what do I think the advantages or disadvantages are of the 32 technique system of American Kenpo versus the 24 technique system versus the 16 technique system? So just to give a bit of context for those that don't understand what Kenpo Joel is asking, originally Kenpo was taught in 32 techniques per belt level. So for example, there'd be 32 techniques for orange, 32 techniques for purple, 32 techniques for blue, etc. And then you started, extensions much earlier. And then later on, as Kenpo, evolved, there was the 24 technique system, where basically we had 10 techniques in the yellow belt level. And then there were 24 techniques for orange, 24 for purple, 24 for blue, 24 for green. And then we had our third brown techniques, which were 24 techniques, and 24 techniques also in second brown. And then at first degree brown is when you would start the extensions of the orange belt curriculum, which meant that first degree black belt techniques would be the purple belt techniques with the extensions, and second degree black belt would be the blue belt techniques with extensions, and then lastly the green belt extensions would be taught for third degree black. So basically the 24 technique system is just like the 32 technique system, but it spreads the techniques out much more, so that you have more room to learn the curriculum and not be crammed necessarily by learning 32 techniques per belt. And then the 16 technique system, before I get into that, just so people understand what that is essentially when you learn all of the base self-defense techniques, no extensions. You learn all the base techniques up to first degree black belt, but then for promotion to second degree black belt, you learn the orange extensions. For third degree black belt, you learn the purple belt techniques with the extensions. Blue belt extensions are fourth degree black belt. Green belt extensions are fifth degree black belt. So it spreads the system out even more, okay? So all that to say, to give you the context, advantages and disadvantages. First, I want to say, some people, I think, including some very high rank, Kenpo karate black belts, can be very dogmatic about this, in that they say, oh, it has to be the 24 technique system, or no, the 16 technique system was approved by Grandmaster Ed Parker. It wasn't really approved. It was at a stage where he was implementing that, to my understanding, near the time of his passing. And but it wasn't necessarily this is the way that he wanted it, 16. Some people say yes, he did. All that to say, here's a few thoughts. The first is the 24 technique system. I happen to teach at Seabrook Martial Arts Academy. All of my students are brown belt or black belt level. That is where the direction I am right now in my martial arts journey. So my students learn the 24 technique system. However, I also have a lot of international students, or students who aren't able to train directly with me at my school per se. So I have students in the United States, different parts of Canada and Chile. And, if they come from a lineage that does not teach the 24 technique system, maybe the 16 technique system, and they become my student and they want to aim towards, I don't know, let's just say 3rd degree black belt. I feel like to say, oh, you have to know every single extension up to the 24 technique system for your next promotion might be actually doing them more harm, okay? Because that means they're in heavy memorization mode, and I believe in quality over quantity. So there's some martial arts practitioners in Kenpo who can learn the 24 technique system, or even the 32 technique system for that matter, and work on mastery of those moves and be very good at it. There's others, who knows, maybe they're in professions where they're limited in time. They have, 2 classes per week at 1 hour each, and that's all they can commit. Well, that's totally cool. It's better than doing nothing. So for those students to say, you have to do the 24 technique system and all the extensions, work on mastery of the base techniques. This is my opinion. Spread it out. As long as they learn, in my opinion, the entire curriculum, from delayed sword all the way up to the final green belt extension. I teach the whole curriculum, all the extensions, all 96. It doesn't matter. The other thing to consider, though, is that if you teach the 24 technique system and you're very dogmatic that that is the correct curriculum, then what do you do after 3rd degree black belt? Because the truth is, in American Kenpo, we have long form 7 as a requirement for black belt in the 4th degree, and long form 8, which is the double knife form, for black belt 5th degree. That's one form only, with no techniques outside of the techniques in the form, in the kata. And that's not a whole lot of requirements for 4th, 5th black. And after 5th black, there is 0 requirements in American Kenpo. I know, I get it. American Kenpo takes a lifetime to master. I tell my black belts that all the time. However, I do believe it is a good thing to be constantly learning. So for me, I also teach my students, Filipino martial arts, stick and knife fighting drills, Sinawalis. I teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, so they learn what to do on the ground, which is a whole nother aspect completely removed from American Kenpo. So in terms of advantages, disadvantages of 32, 24, and 16 technique system, I would say that different individuals learn differently. And rather than being dogmatic and saying 16 is the way to do it, that's the best way, well, that's some people's opinion. It doesn't work for everybody. Same with things like family groupings. Some people are very strong advocates. Family grouping of techniques should be taught all together only. That is how you work on mastery of family groupings. Cool. For some people, I would say that I totally agree. For some people, they need that spread out, and they don't need it all grouped together. They need it spread out a lot more. So they need family groupings at different times, and to be learning different things, from the kicking set to coordination set to striking set to sets and forms, all spread out, rather than feeling like everything has to be grouped together. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages, and as long as you're learning the whole curriculum, you're good to go. That's my response to question 1 to Kenpo Joel. And then the second question he asked was a great one. Thoughts on preserving Mr. Parker's curriculum in its final version? That is the version in Infinite Insights into Kenpo Volume 5, as opposed to modifying the system like many schools have. Okay, here is my personal opinion. I personally teach the entire American Kenpo curriculum as taught. Now, I will get slammed by some people saying, you're not doing Mr. Parker's mandate of evolving the system. I could not disagree more, because I teach the exact blueprint that Ed Parker taught. However, I leave room for different interpretations of moves, not only based on how I like to view the self-defense techniques and different ideas that I use from different martial arts, but I incorporate, perspectives from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, we're doing locking horns. What happens if it's a full guillotine choke? And and we're not able to finish the fight on the ridge hand shot and the grab to the groin, elbow up, etc. So I incorporate Gracie Jiu-Jitsu principles. I incorporate Filipino martial arts techniques into the lance techniques. This is me. The 5 lance techniques, for those who don't know, those are the 5 knife techniques in American Kenpo. There's gaps. And I know some will say they're perfect as written. I don't agree. But I also don't want to act like I know more than Ed Parker. So I teach the system the exact lance techniques, and we explore and we build and we continue to evolve. I think it's a misconception that you need to create a new system to, quote, evolve. Because if you create a new system to, quote, evolve, what if your new system is not superior? Who's to say it's superior? Obviously, the founder of the new system will say it's superior, but that's very subjective, right? How does one really determine what one is better, right? So the thing about it is, and at what point is it still Kenpo? If we're taking the Kenpo moves and just kind of modifying them, whatnot, sure, we're continuing to evolve. But hey, we also have the formulation stage in American Kenpo where we're able to do a lot of that experimentation a lot more. So, the thing about it is I think we have to be careful to go, I'm going to create a new system and I'm going to call it Kenpo. To what extent is it still fully Kenpo, right? So I teach the entire blueprint of American Kenpo. And the other thing I got to say to Kenpo Joel, this is my opinion, is when I ask my black belts, what are your favorite self-defense techniques? Rarely do they match mine. That's very interesting. And rarely is like a statistics, is there a correlation between what one of my black belts says and my other black belt? So my other black belts, there's so much variability, or what we call in stats variance, between what people choose as their favorite techniques. So what does that mean? That means that if I'm a Kenpo instructor and I say, I'm going to particularly choose what the most, quote, effective techniques are, well, obviously, some people disagree with me. My own black belts disagree. What works for me might not work ideally for them, and vice versa. So rather than me subjectively choosing what I think is the most optimal techniques, I choose to teach the full American Kenpo curriculum exactly as taught by Senior Grandmaster Ed Parker, and we explore and we build. And yes, I'm still evolving because we're incorporating principles from Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, Filipino martial arts and modern Arnis, and as well as some of my Kung Fu training in Black Dragon Kung Fu. So we're still exploring and we're building off the system. Should the last version be considered official and modification only as options, or is it better to continue evolving the system based on concepts and principles Mr. Parker left us? It's a very closely related question, and it's an amazing one, Kenpo Joel. Thank you so much for asking that. Personally, I think if Ed Parker were alive today, this is my opinion, the system would look different. So one could say I'm contradicting myself because I'm saying I'm teaching the exact American Kenpo blueprint as taught by Ed Parker, but I'm also saying at the same time, I think it would be different. Ed Parker was constantly changing American Kenpo. He was so many decades ahead of his time. He was constantly evolving and changing the system. He was in a league of his own. He is my modern day, martial arts Bruce Lee. Ed Parker is. So, as I think about that, and I think about him evolving, sure, it would look different. But rather than me saying, Jamie Seabrook, I'm going to create my own Kenpo system that I believe is superior to Ed Parker's, to me, Ed Parker is the man. I'm going to teach his curriculum as he taught it, and I'm going to use my knowledge and my skill and my background from other martial arts. I know a lot of people will say it's Kenpo or nothing, all in Kenpo. Cross-training is a bad thing. I could not disagree more. I was interviewed on a show recently where they criticized me for doing any cross training. They said one style only is a true martial arts master. Hey, I mean, that's their perspective. I couldn't disagree more. I think a good martial arts master realizes where there's strengths and weaknesses. American Kenpo, like I said, Kenpo Joel, I think it's the most complete system out there in existence. However, there's one area that's grossly missing, and that's the ground. And, for me, I recognize that as a weakness, and I chose to do something about it. And by training in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu since January 2012. And I feel that gap and incorporating that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu principles, and hey, fight goes to the ground, you're doing delayed sword, and you step back and you clear the arm or you hammer the bicep, and you go to kick the groin, but all of a sudden they charge in you and you're on your back. Right away, put them in a guard, maintain the guard, go for a cross choke, triangle choke, maybe an elevator sweep, depending on what they offer you. But none of that is available in American Kenpo if you don't know what to do in the ground. Even, and I don't want to go on a tangent here, but even, we talk about the ram techniques and the tackle techniques. We always talk about the what if phase. I don't know about you, everybody, but if you know what tackle means, they're trying to take you to the ground. So all of the what ifs that I've seen that are usually taught in American Kenpo don't tell you what to do when you're actually on the ground, which is the point of what the opponent is trying to do. So a huge what if is, what if the person actually takes you to the ground? And that's where I use a lot of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to build off the blueprint that Ed Parker taught. But personally, I believe in preserving the system exact. I teach every single form, all the sets 1 and 2s, all the self-defense techniques, 154, plus I also teach spreading branch and intellectual departure and aggressive twins, so 157. And I teach all of the extensions, all 96 extensions, 24 for orange, 24 for purple, 24 for blue, 24 for green. And I also teach Form 7 and Form 8 as well. That's me. I love Ed Parker's curriculum. I'm going to do it for the rest of my life. And hopefully that answered your question. It's my opinion, and I hope you found something enjoyable out of this. Thanks, Kenpo Joel, and everyone else that's watching, and take care.